Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to today's edition of Press Hour. When public service examinations or other kind of selection procedures are organized for employment in Cameroon, there is a precision that ignites heated debate. It is 4 ordinary level GCE papers, excluding religious studies, or 2 advanced level GCE papers, excluding religious studies. Yet, this is a subject numerically considered the same as the others in the certificate examinations in our country. Some people argue that if it is not to be considered in recruitment, what is the use getting religious studies as a subject? You have others who hold that it is the basis of moral foundation in education. But from a general perspective, moral standards are on a fast lane of decay in the Cameroonian society. A Cameroonian scholar, Professor Willibrod Zengwa, who is with us on Press Hour Set today, sees it as an orientation problem. According to him, the subject should be morality studies or moral education because moral values are universal. We have other scholars who oppose this view. We shall cross the views on today's edition of Press Hour. It is a moral and intellectual encounter you cannot miss. This is Press Hour, and I am Kilian Ndandifon in Yaoundé. You are welcome back on today's edition of Press Hour. Of course, we've always told you that we do not suppress our emotions. What we do is that we let our good sense guide our debate, our feelings and discussion. That's what you're going to get on Press Hour today. And at this moment, permit me to introduce the guests, the panelists on Press Hour this day for you. We have Reverend Emmanuel B. Masok, who is the Secretary Committee of the Ministry of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. He has traveled all the way from his station in Douala for Press Hour to talk moral issues on Press Hour today. You're welcome, Reverend.
Thank you very much. It's my delight to be here, and I'm really grateful to be in the midst of such great people here on this panel.
Beginning with you as a great person, moral authority, and just this morning I listened to your sermon on radio. You have radio teaching, preaching that you have. I listened to it. It's always very inciting. Thank you for getting us up once in 3 months to give us that type of devotion in the morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, let me cross the set to introduce Professor Zengwa Willibrod. He has so many qualifications, but I take him today as a political scientist and an educationist on Press Hour. Prof, it's our pleasure to welcome you to the program today.
Thank you very much, Kilian. It's really my pleasure to meet my friends, especially the Reverend Masok. You would permit me to pay tribute to 2 persons, Tumfo Barrister Nico Hale, who upholds high moral values, and of course to veteran Peter Isoka, whom over the years, through his reflections, struggled to imbibe moral values within the Cameroonian society.
We join you, and Tumfo Nico Hale is a personal friend, peace crusader. He has close to 200, I should say more than that, awards in peace and other things that deal with humanity. Our tribute to him, and to Uncle P, our own thank you for bringing those names to us on Press Hour today, people who watch Press Hour and who appreciate what we're doing here. Thank you for all of you who are there with us, and I continue the introduction with you, Dr. Isidore Kwakom, who is a civil society. Doctor, you are a doctor of philosophy. You're welcome to Press Hour.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. I'm naturally happy to be here, hoping that we will discuss issues that will be able to shape the life of our society.
We are told that philosophers take things out of the normal, and sometimes they don't bring people back to the reality We hope you are not going to go and then let us hanging in the debate of today.
Not of course. I will be within the context of morality, which is what is bringing us here together.
Thank you very much for coming, Dr. Isidore, and our own Richard Nde Lajong, the publisher of the Herald Tribune. It's a bi-weekly, and sometimes you have special editions. Richard, thank you. We always carry the Herald Tribune on Press Hour and other newspapers that are here. You're welcome to Press Hour.
Thank you very much, Kilian, and it's my pleasure to once more be on set with Reverend Masok. We're together some other time and almost talking on the similar topic. And it's also my pleasure to be on set with Professor Zengwa and Doctor. I do appreciate you all, and that I'm happy being with you on set on this very, very important and crucial topic that has to, see how it can change our society.
We actually have to make meaning out of. You don't have a subject on the certificate examination, that's examination, but you don't have it in employment, in recruitment. It's as if it's useless. At the end of the program today, you're going to put your finger on something, or we're going to come up with a suggestion that could change the way things are going when it comes to religious studies. But before we get into our discussion, this is what the press fed on during the week, and it is in the press review that's done for us by Yoti Kalelesonge. Yoti, you read the papers for Press Hour.
Adept pressmen touched even on the nitty-gritty details to keep the readership informed. Cameroon's first couple is captured amongst attendees of the 80th anniversary of the commemoration of the landings in Provence on the invitation of French President Emmanuel Macron. A ceremony during which President Paul Biya takes to the rostrum on behalf of his African peers, indicates Cameroon Tribune. While bringing to memory Europe's triumph during the Second World War, the papers also inject pathos in their articles on the demise of the former CAF president Issa Hayatou. The Guardian Post goes straight to the point with the caption, "Former CAF president Issa Hayatou dies at 78. The Horizon cues in with details on his background and career, while Cameroon Tribune spotlights the sports icon going home. A man whose journey to eternity is embarked on at a time when the 2024-2025 school year calendar is unveiled, with Cameroon Tribune indicating that it rumbles off on September 9, 2024. To break it down further, the Horizon pinpoints that the 2024-2025 school year, whose start was initially set for September 2, has been postponed to the 9th. Before pupils begin hitting the roads back to school, the stance of the Council of Medical Sanitary Professionals on the training of health personnel is projected on the Herald Tribune. The same print media organ is keen on the impact of social media on mental health, whilst various newspapers accentuate the new twist in the Nextel saga. Meanwhile, some journalists and media houses who have not been respecting the ethics of the profession are dealing with the brunt of their unprofessionalism. The outcome are the sanctions meted out on them by the National Communication Council. The details are published on municipal updates. In the meantime, Lifetime highlights that the child stolen at the Ekumdum Baptist Hospital in Yaoundé has been found. This same week, Catholic Christians celebrated the Feast of the Assumption, portraying the Blessed Virgin Mary as a model of humility. The nation's import substitution ambition, likewise the launching of the new cocoa season, as well as the National Hydrocarbons Corporation standpoint on the sale of Cameroon's crude oil, also featured on some of the week's newspaper publications.
Thank you very much, Yoti Kalelesonge, for reading the newspapers for us on Press Hour. And at this point, we're going to call on Richard Nde Lajong, who is our pressman on the set, to choose one of the topics, and we kind of raise the matters that the topic brought.
Thank you, Kilian. Permit me to choose two topics. The first is the death and burial of the former CAF president, who died and was buried on Friday. That's Issa Hayatou. I want to say that you know, he was, the way he was buried, according to me, he was not really given the deserved attention that somebody who has held, I mean, the position right to the top position of football, FIFA, even though for 5 months. But I think that through his more than 28 years or so in CAF, he brought in a lot of reforms. And we had the president of FIFA, Sepp Blatter, and Dr. Musepe of CAF coming in. And, you know, the way Cameroonians, you know, they were less interested.
No, the head of state was represented.
Yeah, the head of state was represented.
Of sports was there who represented
the
head of state.
They're always represented.
You had the governor for the north. You had the senior division officers.
I agree, they're always represented.
You had Muslim dignitaries. You have different ministers.
They're always
who
represented,
were there.
but what attention was given to that funeral? Unlike we see others. I mean, let's look at CRTV. Why did they not give a live broadcast even when the corpse was being received? Why did they not give a live broadcast?
No, this is what happens.
But they choose other things that are less important and
this is what happens. If you ask Issa Hayatou, he would have told you that even what you saw like that should not happen. In the tradition of the Muslim, you are not supposed to carry the corpse around and organize ceremonies. If you interpret it from this background, you will understand that you're not going to get deeper into that. So let's not deviate so much in the tradition of the Muslim. That's what happened. So maybe
I rest my case.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Maybe somebody. The second topic.
The next issue is about this training of midwives, nurses, lab technicians by this lay private higher institution of learning, which was a call for concern that somebody gets into one of these higher institutions of learning to be trained as a nurse. After 2 or 3 years, comes out with an HND or BTS.
And then there is no other window, no future.
No other opening.
Yes, thank you.
So, but I'm happy that the joint ministerial decision, was a joint ministerial decision suspending the training of these nurses from these high institutions of learning, the lay private, and then they're going to, you know, set an exam that will integrate them into the nursing order.
That is in place. Very good. Those are the two topics that he has chosen. I think we should have 1 minute to talk about that, beginning with you, Isidore, Dr. Isidore.
Yeah, I think that the 2 minutes suppressing HND for training of HND program for the training of midwife, nurse in lay private school is quite important, because the HND itself in Cameroon has a serious problem, a very serious one, in the sense that HND is limited within the frontier, the bounds of Cameroon. It doesn't go beyond. And then there is no competitive entrance to the public service with HND too. And some of this HND program, you hear like agriculture engineering. Meanwhile, some of these children are being trained, they have never gone to the farm. Like this midwife, you come as someone who has studied history, literature, philosophy, high school, become a nurse, and then you can begin to imagine the background of how the herd of people are in jeopardy in this country.
Thank you very much, Professor Zimba.
Well, I just want to clue in to say that in the nursing program, the HND program isn't limited to 2 years. It's about 3 years. And I want to think that considering other countries, we don't need any particular scientific background to become involved in nursing. If you ask all of your relatives, or most of your relatives who are in America who studied the history here, they are doing nursing over there. So what I'm trying to say is that I think the ministries are doing something good to readjust. I think the word suspension is hard. They want to readjust the program and harmonize it so that the two ministerial departments should be able to co-observe the training of these personnel.
Thank you very much for that. Very incisive, and I should say bringing in a kind of correction, because you are of the higher education. You are the president of the Help Us
Heritage University Institute of Peace and Development.
Yes, so you know that so well. Thank you. And we're going to call on Reverend Emmanuel B. Masok to say a word too on this HND BTS that had no future for these students?
I think, let me just give a general comment. There's a lot of issuance of certificates, but there's not a commensurate in application of the knowledge that has been acquired. Right. So the question will be, what is the question of a lot of certificates, a lot of learning, and what is the effect on society? I think that's what we should be reflecting on.
Maybe let me just quickly add this, that with these HND programs, there is no board that is controlling these exams of HND. And there are no inspectors who always go down to the field to verify the program being done. Most of the officials in the ministry who goes down to the field, they don't actually do effective job. And worst of all, in some of this HND program, you see that the exams, I mark the HND, some of the exams are set by unprofessionals.
Thank you very much, and we want to applaud the two principal titular ministries who discovered that this was not having the desired effect, yes, and had to come back on the program. Yes, I cannot refuse to give you 1 minute.
Thank
one
you.
minute.
Thank you. If I stay quiet, then I'll be complacent. I think that there is a strict follow-up of the programs. Every year, the Minister of Higher Education sends teams to the field to verify the teaching programs. At the degree level, all the universities are affiliated with state universities which send and even control the setting of the questions. So it isn't just as we think.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you very much. This is not our focus for today. We may have time to talk about that. It has come back rather late because we have so many Cameroonians who have gone through that program, and we don't know exactly where they are lost as we speak. So we're going to find time to talk about that. Just after this interlude, we're going to delve into our discussion on today's edition of Press Hour. Yes, the morals are declining. We have moral decay in our country, and in a country where we have religious studies that are not considered in recruitment, in employment, in official or public space. In Cameroon, we are questioning why, what is happening. And Professor Zingwa has a reflection on, should it be religious studies or something else, moral education? I give you this time to situate us on what you think should be.
Well, thank you very much. I speak under the authority of a religious authority and very learned colleagues. Let me say religion simply means to rejoin or reconnect the natural to the supernatural. So it simply means that we have to reconnect with a superior being. That is what religion simply means. And it is centered on faith and worship. So there should be faith and there should be worship. And we have three basic religions. We are talking about animism, for example, which is the worship of rocks, stones, mountains, and all of that. We have the religion of gods, which is the religion of a superior being, that is God, Allah, and all of that. And then we have the religion of non-recognition of God. We are talking about ethics, the religion of philosophy, the religion of reason. Then we can also talk about traditional religion. And in the contrary, I think, let me just say that one of the best things that the founding fathers of this country did was to make Cameroon a secular state. And being a secular state in order to minimize conflicts. Because the question now is, which religion is supposed to be evaluated? Is it the religion of gods? That is what is being evaluated. Is it animism? Is it traditional African religion? What about Buddhism? So we thought that it is incumbent. Let me say I'm a Christian, a practicing Christian. So I'm not undermining Christianity. I was told that if you don't want to frown in Cameroon, don't talk about religion and don't talk about football. So we just want to pray that we understand our views. Morality, in the other hand, should be based on the differences between the good, the bad, the ugly. What is good? What is bad? What are the ethics leading to this? So I have the very strong notion that moral values are generally acceptable across the board, while religious values are respected strictly within the culprits of the followers of that religion. And religion is a fundamental element of conflicts. So in order to roll back conflicts, the basic question would be, which religion? Should we practice and evaluate people in Islam? I can say that there are Muslim scholars who cannot read English and French, but who have PhDs in Islam using the Arabic language. Now, if we have to assess that, are we going to assess our values, our culture? I listened to Reverend Tata this morning.
Tata von Emmanuel.
No, Tata
Humphrey.
Reverend Father.
Yeah,
Making a relationship
Tata
between religion and our culture. Now, if we have to consider culture, and it's being accepted by the religious authorities, what culture? So that is why we think very strongly that insisting on religion is going to make the atmosphere very conflictual, because we will not put our finger on which religion to be able to assess. But morality is accepted by Christianity, is accepted by tradition, is accepted by Muslim, is accepted by Buddhist. So moral values cut across, basic moral values.
I see that. When you spoke to me, I got convinced and then that there's a lot of meaning in what you say. That's why we have this topic here. Yes, I'm going to ask Dr. Isidore, who is a philosopher, to give your point. We're going to end with the Reverend because he's an authority in morality. We will allow him to listen to you, to listen and kind of digest what you're saying before he comes in. Yes, you are a philosopher. Tell us.
Yes.
What's your position?
Thank you, Killian. I'm confused as why the government can put a subject into the curriculum and is not accepted into the public service. I see it as an organized mafia by the state, where teachers are being paid to teach children with this subject. Children buy books, they pay money to register this subject, they spend their time to read, and then at the end of the day, it is not being considered into the public service. I will agree with Prof that the subject should be rebranded as morality, because moral values cut across. And if you want to put religion, as he said, there is African traditional religion. Now, why should we keep a subject that we are not using it or we are not practicing it in a real life situation? Meanwhile, children are paying money to do that. So we should rather come in with another discipline, which is morality, to suppress that, because in Cameroon GCE program, if you want to register 11 papers, the number 11 subject must be religious studies. And in that religious study, it is divided into 3 sections. Paper 1 is social life. And paper 2, we have the patriarch from Abraham to the death of Bathsheba. And then you come to the Gospel of Luke, and then section C, in that same paper 2, is Islam. And then in that religious study, which studies some basic aspects, some elements of values or morality, there is no African traditional religion inscribed. Like a Prof is questioning, which religion are we trying to practice? Because religious study is the science of the study of religion, which could be anthropological. And so therefore, we are saying that either government step up with the discipline to be considered into the public service, or we change the subject and bring in another element or another discipline known as morality. Come to think of it, in 2012, there were 3 subjects that were brought into the curriculum. That is citizenship education, which ends only at the level of Form 5. Unfortunately, people think that citizenship education is morality. No, it's a compendium of so many subjects like geography, economics, law. And now, logic was also brought in. We did a science that studied valid reasoning to distinguish correct from incorrect reasoning. It is taught by philosophers and logicians. Now, we equally have computer ICT that came in 2011. It was first evaluated in 2016. Why not pick up this subject like ICT, which is becoming a universal discipline now, to be put as number 11, or citizenship to be stepped up some elements of morality enshrined into the curriculum. So when government exploit people, that people to spend money, pay teachers, children pay their money to register this subject, and then at the end of the day, they don't consider into the public service, then it means that the discipline is not useful. So therefore, it should be completely skyrocketed from the program, and then a new discipline that can shape the morals of people to come in.
Well, let me just say that for everything that is done, like you just talked about BTS earlier in this program and HND, government is coming back on it. It was not conceived to exploit. Government does not exploit its own people. It is possible that policy may not have its desired effect, but it is not intended, as you say, to exploit. Now, we're going to move over to Richard Nde, who is a pressman. What is your position on this debate?
Yeah, if you ask me, Kilian, I would think that religious knowledge should be included into any public service exams. Because there's no reason, like Dr. Julius said, that a child is trained in religious studies, he registers that exams, have 33 points, and then he cannot use it to enter into any public service. I think it is kind of misplaced priority there. If we have the type of society we are having today, it is because the children or those who are involved in one public service activity or not, or the other, are probably lacking somewhere in their moral upbringing, which could have been brought up from the religious studies. Because from there, you'll be able to differentiate, what is right and what is wrong. At any moment you think of doing anything negative, your conscience pricks you. And that can only come from the religious background, from your religious background. And if you are found wanting in your religious background, then you don't have a place in society where you can even moralize. We have countries where before you get employed, they want to check your moral background. But with us, it is not the case. It's not the case in Cameroon. Anybody can just come up today and becomes a policeman, and tomorrow he removes his gun and shoot somebody. But somebody who is trained, who is able to understand that killing is a bad thing, would not do that. And you can only get this from your religious background if you undergo religious doctrine. If I'll go further to say, Kilian, in as much as we'll try to blame the state, the parents too have a big role, because they are the first parents, the first teachers of the children, to inculcate into their minds the religious aspects. How many of us on Sunday mornings or on Fridays when we're going to the church or going to the mosque on Friday, take along our children? We keep them home. They're watching TV or doing other things, and you expect that child will grow up today and and go to church to be moralized? No.
Well, thank you very much. Many people actually carry their children to church.
No, if you look at those who carry their children to church.
I was in church today, CBC. It took me in Yaoundé, and I am one of the ushers in the church, and we receive so many children. We even have children's section where the children don't come into the mainstream
Sunday school.
They go to their own side. So people carry their... Well, if the people don't carry, that's an exception. Or what you have said is correct. I'm just strengthening that people carry their children to church. Before we get to our reverend, the moral authority we have here, we have one other person who thinks that religious studies should be maintained. It has its place in our curriculum. And this is Zumbushi Eric Su, who is an associate professor of literature and cultural studies in the University of Yaoundé 1. Listen to his own position.
Thank you very much, Kilian. I think I belong to the class of those who think that religious studies should be accepted by the state of Cameroon as a subject in the advanced level, a subject in the O levels, equal in status to any other subject. instead of teaching morality studies, teachers go teaching religious studies. Well, I don't see the great difference, because you cannot teach religious studies in exclusion of morality. If you look at all the books written by specialists in this discipline, who have written books on religious studies, you come to understand that religious studies and morality go hand in hand. You cannot teach religious studies in exclusion of morality, because you will understand that when we talk of religious studies, it has to do with, it's a science, it's a discipline and interdisciplinary studies of different religions and where they are similar and where they differ. And when we study the different religions in the world, we realize that there are more of similarities than differences. But unfortunately, so many people are keen to the differences and forget about the similarities. You see, you cannot teach religious studies in exclusion of morality, because when we talk of religious studies, God is at the center. And God is a spiritual being and also a moral being. Because God does not only tell us how to relate with Him, which is spirituality, but God tells us how to relate with our neighbors. If I take an example, which is common in all the religions in the world, when you read the Ten Commandments, and I don't know of any religion in the world that you will not find the Ten Commandments there. When you take an example, the Ten Commandments, the first 3 commandments are spiritual dictates, God telling us how to relate with Him. The remaining 7 commandments are moral principles, how to relate with our neighbors. So you realize that God is a spiritual being and also a moral being, because God does not only tell us how to relate with Him, He tells us how to relate with our neighbors. Love one another as I've loved you. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. These are all sound moral principles, all coming from one Creator, God.
Thank you very much. That is Professor Zumbushi Eric Su, who is Associate Professor of Literature and Cultural Studies in the University of Yaoundé 1. Now it's time for us to go to Reverend Emmanuel B. Masok, who is the Secretary Committee of the Ministry of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. Yes, you've listened to all these 4 people talking about morality and religious studies. Your position, Reverend.
Thank you very much. And first, let me thank the Professor Zengwa for his introduction. Very, very reflective. And listening from all of them, I think I tried to pick some things which they will clarify me more so that it may deepen the conversation. I think the panel is in agreement that if religious studies is a full-fledged subject, it should be given its place. I think there's agreement on that. Now, the point that has not been explained is what was the intention of religious studies in education in our curriculum? Was it to also form people spiritually? I mean, morally, even if they do not use the subject, has it got ingredients to build the community? Now, when I hear him talk, it's Professor Dr. Isidore talks more about the content. It seems to be more biblical information. It seems the students are given a lot of biblical information instead of trying to help them cultivate moral standard. In that case, now the pedagogic logic behind the putting of that subject on the curriculum become a bit challenging. Because if you gather people to go and give them Bible information about Abraham, you may not be helping them to develop spiritual attributes, moral attributes. Mm-hmm. So we must look at the content. Now, this brings me to the point of intentionality, the law of and correlation. Mm. Yeah, because whether it's religion or it's moral instruction or education, the question is, what is the intention? How intentional is it? So you discover that it's not even about the name, it's about the content or the implication of the name.
Okay.
You put religious study, you put moral education. What is the intention? How intentional is this?
Is it working?
Yes, yes. Is it men? How do we evaluate whether it is constructing the mindset? Then the second issue I talk about, the correlation or complementarity. You know that very well that the subject in itself does not guarantee moral uprightness. There are other facets. Talk about familyhood, family life. But what about the psychology of the nation, the state of mind of the country, the operational framework of a country? If you have a country when the operational framework is corruption is rewarded, it contradicts even what you are teaching in school. So I've talked about, so whether it's moral education you put or it's religious education, the question would be, how intentional is that? And how constructive is that approach in shaping the minds of the people? And then secondly, I've talked about what are the other complementary facets that can enhance the wholesomeness. Now let me go back to Professor and argue with you a bit about the question of religion and morality. You prefer morals than religion from a global understanding. Now, religion is more conservative, very, very conservative, and it is always there. But you also have the problem of which one. You know about interreligious dialogue, and interreligious dialogues, they deal with constructive engagements. Exactly. So therefore, the question of which one is not a problem, because the religions, they have this dialogue, and they have constructive engagements on the common good. So that one has not much a problem about which one. Now, morality with global identities taking their toll on local identities, on issues of globalization, the movements of people. Increasingly, moral values are becoming more fluid than religious values. So while morality is being attacked by the global movement of people and information, cultures, religion still has a certain edge in terms of its conservatism. Okay. But if we are still worried about the application of religion, then we should be talking issues like religious anthropology, the sociology of religion. It addresses societal issues a lot. Yes,
there's just something I didn't want to abruptly just come in or disrupt the flow of your ideas. There's something which you said. I feel that you exaggerated somehow. Instead of taking the general to the particular, you're taking the particular to the general by saying that corruption is rewarded in the country. When we have ministers, prime ministers, all kinds of high-standing personalities in prison related to corruption. I think, yes, we accept corruption is there, accepted even at the top level of the country, but we cannot generalize that corruption is rewarded.
I think what you are doing the right thing, because you have to be ethical in your conversation. Yes, or the watchdog media will come after you. But what I'm saying, I'm confident about what I'm saying. So I'm not exaggerating. I have been around long enough to know the difference between when a country is moving on a moral higher ground and when they are moving on the moral lower ground. So, but you have a right to caution also that you cannot be pointing the finger that you allowed your panelists to be loose.
No,
so
it's not a matter of watchdog, it's a matter of conviction. When I cite the people I'm citing, you agree with me that you have top officials in this country who are imprisoned, who are in prison.
And the question often comes, Killian.
I hope you are not going to carry us onto that lane, because we have a different topic that we are discussing here.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll move on.
Professor Zengwa, you've listened to Dr. Isidore and to Reverend Emmanuel B. Masok, who has questioned some of the things that you said. We are developing this to take a position at the end of this program, probably to reorientate what so many people think that religious studies and moral education or something should be what Reverend Emmanuel B. Masok is saying, that the name is not so much important. It is what is put into that. Yes.
Well, the four other panelists have said so many things that I'm even confused from where to begin. But let me say that my colleague, Professor Zumbusi, concentrated on religion, which is very important. Religious studies is very important. Studying and knowing the differences between one religion and another and getting a middle point. Reverend Masok is talking about that middle point where we have interreligious dialogue. And my friend was talking about more of morality than religion, to the best of my appreciation. But let me be very clear, that religion deals with crimes and punishments from a superior being, and their followers must be able to respect those. And religion has simple 7 features. They have a doctrine, they have a mythology, they have concepts in each religion, they have institutions like the church, the monasteries, they have ethical values, and of course they have rituals.
And with them, I should add that with the religion, what you don't understand, you should.
No, you don't ask. You just accept.
Add the scriptures there, the writings.
Yeah, the
writings.
Okay. The sacred objects, of course, sacred objects as well. So that is religion, well canalized. And the followers of each religion that believes in a supreme being must follow that canalized doctrine, whether they are convinced about it or they have doubts about it. In this light, when we think about morality, many people use morality and religion to be interchangeable. No. Much of religion is morality, but morality can exist on its own without religion. Now, the Reverend said we should not bother about which religion. But the question I should ask is, whose religion? Now, not which religion. Whose religion? Because in all of the precepts of what religion is supposed to be done, we are talking about Christianity, we are talking about Islam. But we do understand that there are many other religions. Now, let me say I'm talking from the perspective of a conflict manager, where we struggle to manage conflicts. In the present way, religious authorities and the different religions fluctuate in Cameroon and operate, even within Christianity. We realize that the different Christian faiths have different doctrines. And if Catholicism is different from Presbyterians in one way or the other, and they are different from the Baptists, and then we have the Pentecostals, the different elements of the Pentecostals, where some people say by their doctrine, if you are sick, you don't go to a medical doctor. Some others think that they can remove demons from others by sucking the breast or their lips. So we have all of these different doctrines in religious sects and their doctrines. Question: which?
And you say, as you said earlier, that conflict, religion is sometimes the source of.
It is fundamental.
Okay.
It is fundamental in terms of conflicts. When we see just the conflicts within religion, we are going to start assessing how are we going to assess the religion.
Okay.
In terms of so,
yes, Reverend accepts that.
But when we come to morality, true morality is doing what is right without fear of any
contradiction.
Superior reward or retribution.
Yes, you're doing what is right.
So you do what is right. You are not afraid of a superior retribution or a superior reward. Meanwhile, Christianity or religion is when you do something at the back of your mind. You want to be rewarded by a superior being, or if you fail to, or you'll be punished by that superior being that you don't know.
Severely, but there's someone who thinks that religion is not at the origin of conflict, that there are some others, and it's the same Professor Zumbishi, Eric, and so. We're going to look at the way he looks at it before I come to you, Richard. Yes.
Well, I don't think it will bring about the type of conflict that I think I imagine you are thinking, because religious studies have specialists. There are specialists. There are people who have been trained who are specialists in this discipline. We just need them, invite them, so that they should be able to draw a syllabus that will cut across. And if you look at the advanced level syllabus, even the O-level syllabus, you realize that it is a holistic syllabus, because there Christianity is studied, Islam is studied, Buddhism is studied, the African traditional religion is studied, right? There is even a section there for social and moral life, where ills like tribalism, nepotism, corruption, the idea of justice. So when you look at the syllabus, it is holistic in its nature. And that is how a syllabus for religious studies should be. Most people think that when we talk of religious studies, they mistake it for Christian studies. It is not. We talk of religious studies holistically in its entirety, not being akin to one religion. The focal point is to make the learner know that no matter your spiritual dimension lies, all those spiritualities have one central point. There are so many things that bring these spiritualities together than the few things that separate them. And it will even help in national unity and the others. Because what is really destroying the world today is because so many people don't like to know the other person. Within the context of our country, religious studies is even very important.
Is he advancing? He's actually advancing the debate.
Well, I think I should have. Let me just say that I'm rather confused. Well, let's agree with him and we talk about the specialists who are supposed to train in religion, those who are specialized in religion. I still insist, which religion? I think that question has not been answered.
No, I think
the point is this.
Let me respond to him.
Let me come back to. Let me say this. We are talking about a religion which is based on foreign importations, where we have imported, because Christianity is imported, Islam is imported.
We are part of the world.
No,
Bro,
we come. That is exactly.
I think that he is having a serious problem because he's mentioned that there are specialists who are trained in this discipline. People who teach this subject are
philosophers
and theologians.
Yes,
that's men of God. Yeah. Is there any school where they train these teachers?
I think you suggest, yes.
I want to come back to something. Let me just say,
and even in the terms of content that he's saying, that it's not the same. Because social life talk about societal ills. And in the religious story itself, I teach the subject. In the religious story itself, we begin from the patriarch, that's from Abraham. 60% or 70% of the things are the scripture. About 10 or 20 talk about morality. When you go to the Gospel of Luke, it's purely the scripture.
Yes.
And then you go to Islam, it's purely the doctrine. So there is nothing there like African traditional religion.
What I was talking about.
No.
Completely nothing.
So that
I wanted to find out.
Reverend should come in.
Yeah, let me come in.
After Reverend is you, Richard. Reverend should come in because he's a moral authority.
He talks about that there are specialists who can always make a middle way, who can always make a breakthrough. He is scared that how do you don't solve the problem, which religion? Now let me answer. I've talked about interreligious dialogue. That is the framework of the relationship between religions, interreligious dialogue, whereby we come together not to outdo the other. But with the different religions, we come together.
Which religions?
I mean, the different religions.
Imported religions.
No,
not the traditional religions.
Don't forget that even the Christianity you call imported,
yes,
before Christianity was brought by colonialists, there was
a religion,
African
traditional religion.
No,
but it is not in the syllabus.
That's what we are saying.
So I don't want to go into the question about colonial evangelism or the type of the coming of Christianity by colonialists. I don't want to go to that, but that's another discussion. But let me try to give you, let me propose a middle way. The middle way in solving the conflicts amongst the different religions, whether they are original, they are natural religions or they are imported religions, is what we call interreligious dialogue. When we come together, we don't come to outdo the other. We don't come to dominate the other. We find what we call common grounds, and then we do a constructive engagement. So there should be no fear about which religion, because these religions can always come together. That it ties with what he's saying, that they are specialists. When we come together, we find what are the issues of morality from the different religions that we need to put together to construct our country.
There is a problem
We should
in
cut
coming together.
across.
There's a
No,
problem.
there's no problem.
Now,
Because
let me-
religion is as
If you say
whole
that there's
as
no
you want.
religion that
No.
dominates the other, but
No.
Christian religion is dominating African
No,
traditional
no,
religion
please.
because African traditional
It
religion is not in the
I
syllabus
have a
and it's not being
different
taught. Meanwhile, imported Christian religion is being taught. Meaning that
Dr.
Christian religion
Isi,
is dominating.
Dr.
For me, as an
See,
African, I would like
there's
that
a specific
African traditional
question.
religion be taught.
There's a question I want to ask Reverend Emmanuel B. Masok when he's talking about the interrelation.
Yes,
the
dialogue, interreligious
dialogue.
dialogue,
What we know practically is that even within the Protestant churches, they do not agree on
Simply.
so many principles.
Yes.
So how will they come together and live together when they will say, okay, this is a common example. We only accept Christians who have been baptized by immersion.
We talk about
Others don't accept. How will you live together when those
You are
differences?
spreading it too far. We talk
No.
about unity in diversity.
Yes.
We talk about unity in diversity.
Yes.
And we talk about unity is not uniformity.
Exactly.
So these different factions or facets of the Christian religion, we may be different, but we are not disunited because, as we say, there's unity in diversity. I keep on saying, how have these religions been operating in Cameroon over these years? It is the interreligious dialogue we've been having, and we have common grounds of constructive engagement. So the fear of one religion dominating the other does not come there.
Debate
I
is
have a
weighing.
strong reservation.
The debate is weighing towards the proposal of Professor Zengwa, because we already see the conflict within religion. So instead of studying religious studies, why don't we study morality that all these religions accept? That is the point he's making.
Yeah.
Is that the point you're making?
We are saying
Is that
that
the point you're
in
making?
all
Yeah.
the religious belief systems, be it cultural, traditional, imported or not, there are moral values that cut across. Why don't we take those moral values, which are generally acceptable, and then forget about the individual religious doctrines and concentrate on moral values? Let me even say that we might be making an error here, because even the syllabus, the program for religious studies, the title even is wrong. To title it religious studies,
What should it
because
be?
it should be religious and moral studies, because we handle aspects out of religion. I mean, he just said that. And let me just say something. Permit me say something. Permit me say something, Reverend. I've been principal in secondary school for about 20 years, and we had these conflicts. The first thing was when we created club activities, and there was an issue of religion. The Muslims had to come, the Christians had to come, Pentecostals had to come, and you created an unnecessary tense atmosphere within the establishment. But when we thought of injecting moral values that cut across, there was bound to be some sort of calm and harmony within the context. Now, let's talk about the appreciation of the religious language and so on. Please permit me, without offending anybody, that Cameroon, as we said, you said we should not talk about it. Everything is moving in the wrong direction. In terms of corruption,
there's just no way everything can be
almost
moving
at the wrong direction. In terms of,
I mean that you also are piloting it.
And that is why we
Are you saying that you are also piloting
If
people
I
to
am
move in
here,
the wrong
it's
direction?
because we are saying that we should move towards the right direction. There is adult delinquency, there is juvenile delinquency.
Can we say many things?
I mean,
we cannot say everything.
If you can put your hand on one thing that is moving on 50% smooth in this country right now, let us be courageous.
One thing is that you have come here and you are talking about.
I am about the 50%.
But you said everything. That's
no,
why I don't
said
agree with you.
Put your finger on anything that is 50% moving accordingly. And that's why we are saying that if we wait, let us be courageous enough to say that it is not going, and we make concrete suggestions to move us forward.
Yeah.
In all of the top the top positions in this country, we went to mission schools. The first schools in this country were all mission schools. The first schools. And most of those who are ruling this country today came up from these mission schools. But we are seeing what we are saying because we have not insisted and put a line on morality where we have punishments.
Yes.
Because part of the immorality is impunity.
Now, see where you have exaggerated a bit. When you started speaking here, you paid reverence to two people.
Yes.
As examples. But you said everything is moving in the wrong direction. We mean that all these people are moving in the wrong direction. I just wanted you to
I talked
hold
about
back, to hold back,
50%.
to hold back that
Let me
statement,
talk
and
about,
then we can go.
let's
Okay.
engage him on morality, the issue
Yes.
about morality. Okay, I agree that it will be difficult to have everybody on board, the different religions on board. Let's go back to the whole, let's also challenge the whole, let's make a critical reasoning on the morality issue.
In 1.5 minutes,
Yes,
because we have to
yes,
go around the table.
Yes, okay. About moral, why you are still insisting that moral education is should be branded moral education, I still also challenge you that increasingly with the movement of people, the speed of communication, the seemingly global village we are coming, it will become very, very difficult to define what is right and what is wrong.
Okay.
Even though you're saying that morality is accepted across the board.
Because we
Now,
have denied.
let me ask the Reverend a question.
Yes.
Are things going wrong because religious authorities, Christians, Muslims, and the rest, they have allowed politics to the other people you don't accept to do real politics? Should
No.
Christians do politics?
No, I think I think to be very sincere, so many facets are needed to build a nation.
Should
Not-
Christians be involved in partisan politics?
No, I think I don't encourage churches or really churches to be involved in partisan politics, and Christians should practice politics with their Christian morality.
Let us, for the last time, get Professor Zumbushi, what he has on Christians doing politics. When we come back, we'll go round.
I think there is this misguided argument that Christians should not get into politics. Rather, Christians should get into politics and watch it. If they think that politics is dirty, they should get into it and watch it. When you read the book of Isaiah, it is said there that when wicked people rule, the people suffer. So Christians should get into politics and bring their Christian morality into politics. Because Christian morality warrants you not to embezzle. Christian morality warrants you not to be corrupt. Christian morality warrants you to come up with good laws that will accompany and accommodate people. Christian morality does not warrant you to be a tyrant. So if you are a Christian in the real sense of the word, then politics is yours. In 1988, the bishops of the Episcopal Conference of Cameroon wrote a document in 1988 where that document, the bishops were encouraging Christians to participate in political and public life. Right? So these are bishops encouraging their faithful not to stay away from politics, but to be part and parcel of the political process. So any Christian who thinks that he or she is not supposed to participate in politics because, as they say, politics is dirty, it is an opportunity for them to get into it and wash it clean.
Thank you very much, Christians. That's his point of view. Now, this is, we'll go back to where we started. Your position on religious studies and recruitment or employment. I'll end with you, Reverend. Yes, Professor Zengba.
Well, permit me just say that, to quote Cardinal Toomey, when he was talking to Christians and men of God, I think he made a declaration himself, saying that when he accused them of being corrupt, they said that the difference between their own corruption is that they are corrupt with a conscience, while the others are corrupt without conscience. This is clear indication that he was affirming that being religious or not, the underlying word is all of them are corrupt. And let me be very...
We don't have time to develop.
Yes,
That's the last
all
one.
of them are corrupt.
Yes.
And if we are talking about
look,
morality...
When you look at the time...
Yes, let me
time
end.
is up.
I want to say, if we end with morality, I think I go with Gandhi, who says that I reject any religious doctrine that does not appeal to reason and that rejects morality.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Well, clearly I was almost a spectator. You didn't give me the time to advance my points. But I think as we're concluding, my viewpoint is that the state should inculcate religious knowledge up to entering the civil service.
Okay. Should be considered. There should be nothing
Should be-
like
it's nothing like excluding religious
studies.
knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that the title religious studies should be reestablished to religious and moral values, and it should be considered into the public service. And it should be noted here that one of the decaying problem of morality is because the lack of conscience. And of course, that is why you see medics refuse to attend to patients in last agony until an extra fee is paid before they go.
That's
High officials,
morality.
that is lack of morality.
Thank you.
High officials going to prison for embezzlement and corruption. Military people or uniform officers who are supposed to protect people, property and territorial integrity are there harassing and molesting people.
Thank you very much.
That is
Yes.
morality.
The last word
Yes,
comes to you, Reverend.
government, please recognize your own very subject you put on the curriculum. Number two, if you want to refashion religious studies and religion and morality, moral studies, very correct, but above all, let there be the will, the intention, and let all the other forces fall in place.
Thank you very much, Reverend Emmanuel B. Masok, Secretary Committee of the Ministry of Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. Thank you for coming right away from Douala for the program. Thank you, Professor Zengwa Willie Broad, political scientist, educationist. Thank you, Richard Nde Lajong, publisher, the Herald Tribune, and Dr. Isidore Kwakum, civil society, and he's a philosopher. Thank you also, Professor Zumbushi Eric Nsu, who was there to give his own position. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for your time. You've seen the position of Press R today, and we just wish that this goes a long way to make a difference in our society. You have a rebroadcast of this program on Monday at 2:30 on Cameroon CRTV Premium, and at 9 p.m. after the news in the French language on Wednesday, after the news in the French language. Thank you once again for watching, and have a good time with CRTV.